Hello, Tom here once again with another video, and today I want to talk about that you can see over my shoulder. That is the ZZR-1100 that I recently bought. Interesting story about how I got it. I looked for one online, I found one online, I did some searching on YouTube to see if I could find any videos about this particular bike, and I happened to find videos by the guy who actually previously owned this bike, a channel called Head Race, where he basically stripped it, rebuilt it, and it's absolutely immaculate in terms of servicing, new parts. He put a new exhaust on it, put new brakes on it, put a new chain and sprockets on it, so it needs nothing. In fact, no, I tell a lie, it might need some new tyres, but that's relevant. Head Race, if you're watching this, you're a wizard. You know far more about bikes than I ever could, and I thank you for all the work you did on this bike. But enough about that. Let's talk about the actual bike itself. I'm going to spin the camera around. I'm going to show you the bike because it is an absolute peach. It's a 1997 model, so it's not exactly new, but you couldn't tell that just by looking at it because it looks I nearly swore then. It looks amazing. Right, let's have a look at the bike. Okay then, here is the legendary Kawasaki ZZR-1100. I'm sure if you're watching this video you know all about these bikes anyway. But for those who don't know, when this bike was introduced by Kawasaki in the early 90s, it was actually the fastest production bike on the planet, with a top speed of around about 178 miles an hour, I believe. They were overtaken by, no pun intended, they were overtaken by Honda with the Honda Blackbird, and then came the Hayabusa, and there's the whole story about the Japanese bikes being asked by the Japanese government to stop trying to outdo each other with the higher and higher top speeds. I don't know if that's true, but it's a legend within the biking world. But yeah, this is my new, to me, 1997 Kawasaki ZZR-1100D. I believe there is a difference between the C and the D models, but you can Google that and you'll find it. It's quite easy to find the information. But yeah, I just thought I'd do a bit of a walk around and talk about the aesthetics of the bike and also some of the other things that have been done to it. Not by me, but by the previously mentioned Head Race before I got the bike. Just let this car go past. So, at the front of the bike, the most apparent thing on this bike is the big the big fairing with the indicators incorporated into it. On a lot of bikes, the indicators stick out on stalks, but on the ZZR, obviously the indicators are like incorporated into the body, if you will, which is an acquired taste. I quite like it, but some people don't. It's the same on the back as well. You've got the indicators just where my finger is, but I'll show you the back of the bike in a minute. Nice colour-coded mirrors, which are, yeah, they do the job. Big windscreen. You can get aftermarket ones, obviously, which have different shapes and different lengths and heights and whatnot, but this, I believe, is the stock one. As far as I know, I might be wrong, but it does a great job of taking the wind off of you when you're doing speed, because speed is something you will most likely do on one of these bikes. I'll come to that in a little while. So from the front, we've got this nice big mudguard at the front, and you've got twin discs. I'm not going to go into the technicalities of everything because A, I find that incredibly boring, and B, I'm sure most people watching this don't really care about how many pots are on the calipers and all that kind of stuff. It's just, I want to look at a nice bike. So we've got a nice big radiator in there. Now, again, I keep mentioning the guy who previously owned this bike, Head Race. In one of his videos, he talked about how he replaced the whole radiator. So that's new. The bodywork is in really good condition. Considering this is it's a bike from 1997, it's in really good condition. There's a few minor marks, like for example here on the frame, it looks like some fuel was spilled at some point, obviously from the carburetors there. This is a carburetted bike, it's got 4 carbs, but it's a 4-cylinder bike. Just in there, I don't know if you can see because it's a little bit dark, but you can see the replaced head units, which came from a newer model of the ZZR apparently, because when the previous owner bought this, the exhausts were all rotten, so he replaced all that. Speaking of exhausts, obviously we've got twin exhausts, and they look rather good, I think. Very nice, gives a very nice finish to the bike. What else? Big seat. One thing I don't like about this seat is it's really sort of you slide around on it quite a bit, so I think what I might need to get is one of them kind of grippy seat pads to stop myself sliding around all over the place. But it's a nice riding position. You are kind of leaning forward a little bit. It's almost like, you know, them bikes on Tron where they kind of lean forward. It's a little bit like that. I'm used to bikes which are a little bit more neutral, where you kind of sit up a little bit more. On my Royal Enfield, obviously, you sat sort of bolt upright. And on my previous bike, the Phaser, which I've recently gotten rid of, that was, again, a lot more upright. It's not too bad. You're not, like, leaning directly on the tank, but it's a lot more forward than I'm used to. So it will take some getting used to, but you know, I'll get there because it's a great bike to ride. So yeah, we've got nice lettering on the tank. It's not painted on; it's like stuck on plastic letters, and you've got matching 1100 down here. The chain, as I mentioned earlier, the chain and sprockets have actually been changed, so they're brand new. And again, there is a video on Head Race's channel of him actually doing all the hard work. So again, thank you for doing that. One thing that I probably do need to change is these tyres, because they are looking a bit tired. Again, no pun intended. I've chosen probably the worst day ever in the history of YouTube to actually come out and do this, because it looks quite sunny now, but because we're in like end of October, early November here in the UK, we're looking at almost incessant rain now for the next 3 or 4 months. So I picked a time when there was a break in the horrendous grey clouds. I mean, it doesn't look too bad now, it looks quite sunny, but believe me, prior to me coming out and doing this, it was absolutely smashing it down. So that's why the bike is looking a little bit dirty, as you can see there. But yeah, I'm trying to think of other things that I can point out about the bike. Let's have a look at the dash. It's really clean. I can't emphasise enough how well this bike's been looked after. But as you can see here, it's done just shy of 29,000 miles. We've got a nice fuel gauge. There's also an oil temperature gauge here and a big rev counter. And the clock itself at the bottom there, the LCD's gone on it, but I'm not too bothered about that because I'd spend most of my time looking at this, which is the most important thing, and not the time. And then we've got oil, full beam, and neutral up here. And again, there's that big windscreen, which does an amazing job of keeping the wind off. Down here, these fairings here, they've got like sort of foam inside them. I'm guessing it's some kind of insulation. But what I have noticed is when I'm riding, you do get the sort of nice warm draft coming back from the engine onto your legs, which is a nice touch there. So I'm sure that was intentional. So thanks, Kawasaki, because this bike doesn't actually have heated grips on it. So I need all the heat I can get when I'm riding around in the cold. What else? These like luggage strap things here are quite cool. You know, Kawasaki obviously intended people to use these bikes as tourers, sports tourers. So you can put your bag on the back here, get some bungees and the slight sort of strap them down, which is a really nice touch. Keyhole here for taking the seat off. There's not a great deal under the seat, so I'm not going to do that. Also, it's a pain to get back on again because of the central catch right in the middle of the seat, and then you've got these two things here on the side of the tank where they have to slide in all at the same time. I made the mistake of taking the seat off yesterday, and it took me about 10 minutes to get it back on again. So if you've got one of these bikes, beware. It's not easy to put it back on, or maybe I'm just cack-handed. That's more than likely the case. What else? Oh, this is quite a nice touch. Just under the handlebar here, you probably can't see it, but there's a keyhole, and if you take your key and put it in that keyhole, you can open up a nice little glove box, which is here on the fairing. I'm not sure what you could actually put in that because it's quite small. Maybe a pack of cards or something, or your phone maybe, but you could just put that in your pocket. I don't know why you'd want to put it in there. So pretty useless, but it's a nice touch. And there's one on this side as well, which is screwed down, but I'm not entirely sure what's under there. I think that might be like a fuse box or something. So yeah, that is, a very brief look around this bike. Obviously, like I say, it's been ridden in the crappy weather by me, so that's why it's covered in muck. Nice big headlight. I really like this headlight, and it does give some amazing illumination. I've only ridden it in twilight, so I've not ridden it in the dark yet, but from what I can tell, this is great. And also, just under the headlight here, these are quite interesting. These are air intakes for the engine, with a nice sort of mesh to stop like stuff going in. But yeah, it's an interesting addition, I suppose, to the bike, because usually the the air intake is just kind of like, you know, around the side or under the seat or something. So interesting. Now, let's talk about the you know, the elephant in the room. This bike is ridiculously fast. I haven't gone above the speed limit on it yet, and you know, the likelihood is that I won't, because I'm a good boy when I'm on the bike. But these bikes can reportedly reach speeds of like 170 miles an hour. Whether this actual one would do that because of its age, I do not know. But I never intend to find out, because A, I want to keep my license, and B, I'd like to stay alive a little bit longer. But yeah, I've got extensive, you know, experience of riding bikes. I've been riding bikes for nearly 25 years, of all different types and all different engine sizes. This is by far the most scary bike I've ever owned, I think, is probably what I'm trying to say. I'll never use the bike to its full potential in terms of speed, but it's one of them things you should have like a safety warning with it. If you've just passed your test or you've not got a lot of experience, I wouldn't advise getting a bike like this. I'm not saying that I'm Cal Fogarty or something, but you know, I've got a bit of a I've got respect for what these things can do. And even still, like on my first ride of it, I was riding it around like I was on a 125, because I was terrified of, you know, opening the throttle up too much and just like taking off, because it sounds ridiculous. It sounds unbelievable. I'll turn the bike on so you can hear it. The amount of power that it's clearly got, even just like pulling along at like 30 miles an hour, is yeah, is very palpable, shall we say. So I'll put this in here, and hopefully it will start on the button, because I have warmed it up previously. Didn't mean to do that, but hey-ho. So yeah, you can hear the bike. It's an absolute monster. I mean, I don't know if that is picking up very well on the microphone on the camera, but it sounds like an absolute beast, and I think it looks pretty good as well. There's the headlight being on, more that you can see it. So yeah, let me turn it off. Yeah, this is just really just my thoughts and impressions. No real technical information, because I'm not really an expert when it comes to that kind of thing. I just like riding bikes rather than get technical about stats and whatnot. But yeah. Oh, one other thing I forgot to mention is that all the brake lines are all braided, so that's quite nice. So that's something I don't have to do. I think they might have come with braided brakes as standard, but don't quote me on that. I'm sure there are people out there who are way more knowledgeable about these things than I am, and if you do own a ZZR, let me know what you think in the comments, what you think about this bike. Oh, this is how I identified that this was the bike that I was actually looking at on the dealership website. This little dent here on the tank was quite apparent in the videos from Head Race. So when I saw the bike on, I believe it was Rotate Motorcycles, which are a Bournemouth-based motorcycle dealership, I married the pictures up from what I could see on their website and what I could see on Head Race's videos, and yeah, I'm guessing not many other ZZRs have got that little dent on the tank right there. And one other little interesting thing I found out about this bike is that at some point in its lifetime, it was taken off the road and must have been in storage or something, because I was looking at the MOT history, and there's basically a decade gap from when it was last done and then when the MOT start again. So I wonder it was in storage somewhere. If you know anything about this bike, if you see this video and you recognise the bike and the dent, and this was your old bike, you know, let me know, put something in the comments. I'd love to know a little bit more about it. But I'm going to leave it there for now. Once again, massive thanks to Head Race. I've put a link in the description to his videos about this very bike. And if you've gotten this far listening to me waffle with a slightly sore throat, then you know, you're a better person than I am. Anyway, I'm going to get back on the bike and I'm going to go home before it starts raining again. Right, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.